That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olio and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here, in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettling just from a silly thought that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olya always hides.
Тоша, подойди-ка сюда.
Tosha, come here! I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always whinged and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, thought she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
Hello? The senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded.
Тут мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут.
A boy has gone missing yesterday. His name's Vova.
Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его не видел?
Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as a backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
No, I haven't.
Точно? Посмотри внимательнее.
Are you sure? Look closely.
Где мне его видеть? Я тут никого не знаю, да и из дома-то почти не выхожу.
Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house.
А может, видел в окно?
Well, maybe you've seen him from the window.
Да. У тебя ведь окна на лес.
That's right. Your windows look straight at the forest, don't they? The window.
Нет, не видел.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Ясно.
I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwillingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason.
Вы, кстати, как на новом месте? Попривыкли уже?
How you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it?
Понемногу. Только вот дочка маленькая по городу скучает.
Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot.
Скучает, значит. Из местных вас никто не беспокоит?
Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
Yeah, everything is alright, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his grey eyes, and my head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
Can I help you somehow? I asked in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner.
Я вот стою и думаю,
Now that I think about it,
ты, малец, на племеша моего похож.
you look just like one of my nephews, little fella.
Шустрый парнишка твоих лет, с такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался, детективами.
He's a witty boy, around your age, wears the same type of goggles. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels.
Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить.
He told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer.
Как я, хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
Wanted to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки,
You know what?
сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что.
Little boys
Жизнь
like
сейчас совсем другая пошла.
little boys like you should stay at home. Steer away from trouble. Times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно.
Oh, well done.
Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in, Anton?
В 6-м.
Sixth?
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Have you made any friends here so far?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
No, not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
Ah, then. I'll leave you my number, just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wonder what it was like for him, being all alone there. For some reason I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and trash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
Seems like it. Poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAV drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remember all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. You average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam, solved any complicated case. They became the local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olia will be so happy. And not only Olia, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasize about buying Olia Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. A whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olia. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues.
Пойду погуляю.
I'm going outside.
Ага, сейчас.
Yeah, right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией
You
по
want the
домам
police to
ходили.
go around with your photograph next?
Лес вон какой густой.
The forest is too thick.
А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или
Вот-
того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals? Or something even worse? Even worse, echoes through the
Да
hallway.
я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest.
Что я тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять.
Did you hear what I said? Or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag or play with Olia. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. A dark, stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Olya can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Baba is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on the dim light so she would see there is nothing but cobwebs, dead stools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. I like to hide in the closet, listen to Olya's count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she won't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. Sorry. Grandma kept ice cream for me and Olya there, but now I could only see meat bits for soup and clumped together pelmeni. Pelmeni? I assume, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I grew to hate them already. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home.
Мам, там что-то с телевизором случилось.
Mom, something's wrong with the TV.
Картинка какая-то тусклая, и экран весь в полосах.
The picture is dim, and there are stripes all over the screen. Mom's face becomes visible, distorted.
Из ножа меня режешь. Дострелялся в уток своих.
Oh, you are killing me here. So have you had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now?
Говорила же, посадите мне кинескоп своей приставкой.
I told you the kinescope will go dim because of your console.
Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh?
Может быть, просто настройки сбились?
Maybe it's just the setting.
Сходи, посмотри, пожалуйста.
Please, go see for yourself.
Нормально же работал с утра.
Strange. It worked fine in the morning.
Из-за снегопада, наверное, неполадки.
Maybe the snowfall caused it? Mom rubbed her hands clean on her apron and went to Olya's room. I opened the door and went into the field. Carefully, so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half the distance towards the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw the silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. Hypnotizing music started playing in my head, all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there, distant, ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent it felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. The time reached its limit, and one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any dream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olya turned to stone, listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together. Almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed, with Olya present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day it all changed. Something important has left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out, and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who though? From the people with dead cold eyes, who sometimes visited us in our previous home? Eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground and everything. And somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of an coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There were only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. Squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in the contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered around the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves, coniferous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches, intertwined, bring up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow. When I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was also always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will this mitten help them find the lost boy? Bova! I heard a distant shout. Looked like it came from the river. What the fuck? Bova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Bova? You sounded closer to me. Someone was standing there, behind the trees, hiding. I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally towards the ground. Its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. My muscles were tightly sprung, my heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket, and I sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Ova! A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. I stepped towards the brisky trees and tried to claim my find. It didn't budge. I pulled hard, the branch cracked, and the mitten tore off, landing in my head with a squishy sound. All too heavy, wet. I squeezed it without thinking, and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sound of cracking branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. Felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from the twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. It felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious like quicksand. I was stuck in place. Pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. Continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. The boot slipped out of the hole and my sole were on the hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump and from there ran to my house. The gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. The house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks. As if a dog was striking the wood with its paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed those marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door? Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and immediately gave away. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock. I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house, crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen, chastised me with the same frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad. What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door?
Я случайно.
I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone, the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring. And with its last bit of strength, I had left my body too. My legs gave away, and I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression has changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with snow.
Ты где был? Я тебе что говорила, а? Чтобы ты дома сидел.
Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home.
Я и для тебя пустое место.
Am I nothing to you too? I got afraid she would cry, and I reached out to her, like when I was very little. I wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang out.
У отца сигареты пропали.
Your dad can't find his cigarettes.
Признавайся, ты их стащил? Курить бегаешь?
Be honest. Did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret?
Там за мной кто-то гнался. Я думал, меня...
There was someone chasing me. I thought. I started as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned towards me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant, and she covered her mouth with her hand.
Гляди, вон же они. Прямо у забора.
Look over there, at the fence. My heart started pumping, as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch at the door, just like in my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger, and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window facing my fear. Could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest.
Божечки, ты их испугался? Да они сами тебя перепугаются, Антон.
Oh boy, were you scared of them? I think they'd rather be scared of you, Anton.
Они гнались за мной, словно за
They were
зайцем.
chasing me, like a bunny.
А вдруг они бешеные?
And what if they had rabbit? The smile had slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing them.
Что если они нападут на Олю?
What if they attacked Olya?
Мам,
Mom,
Вот бы твой отец их всех перестрелял.
I wish your dad could just shoot them all.
мама, они живые.
Oh, Mom, look, they're alive.
А что?
Huh? What?
Ты уж определись, они тебе друзья или враги?
Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind.
Не маленький ведь уже.
You're not a little kid anymore. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten? Of course. A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to a lost boy made the squishy sound in my hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to the present. This clue to my mom.
Мам, смотри, это Вовина
Mom,
варежка.
look, this is Vova's mitten.
Ну того, про которого утром милиция спрашивала.
The boy the police was asking about in the morning.
Она вся в крови, на дереве висела. Вон там, могу показать.
It's drenched in blood. I found it hanging on a tree. I can show where.
Давай в милицию.
Let's call the
скорее
police
позвони.
right away.
Как нас участковый просил.
Like the officer had told us to.
Мам, гляди.
Mom, look.
Фу!
Ooh. A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto Mom's contorted face. As if she was trying to remember something distant. Like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away.
А ну-ка прекрати сейчас же.
Stop at this moment.
Оля тебя услышит, с ума.
Olya will go insane if she hears you.
Она и так не спит. На все подряд жалуется.
She already has trouble sleeping and whines all the time.
Еще и ты со своими
And you joke
шуточками.
around like this? At that moment I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment.
Иди сюда, паникер.
Come here, my boy, who cried Wolf.
Да не стой столбом.
Don't you
Вот,
just stand here.
таблетку на. Быстро пей.
Come take your pills. A golden colored pill, reminiscent of a dead wasp, fell onto my palm.
Я уже пил сегодня.
I already took one during breakfast.
Попререкайся
Don't
мне
talk
еще.
over me.
Сказала,
I
дома
told you to
сидеть.
stay
Вот же.
home, and you.
Был бы отец, выпорол.
Dad would have given you a good whipping for that.
Сейчас же выпей, а то
Come
ночью не
on,
уснешь.
take it, or you won't
Тебе
be
идти
able
в
to
школу
sleep
завтра.
at night. And you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't the mitten at all. just like the forest monsters. And Olya's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect, or my overexerted brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawny indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил? Можешь, если захочешь.
Anton, you done? See, you can do it when you try.
Раздевайся.
Take
Уснул,
off your
что ли?
coat. Are you asleep?
Нет, мам, просто задумался.
No, Mom. I was just thinking.
Интересно, о чем же?
What about, I wonder?
Так,
It's
глупости всякие.
Just- something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest.
Точно все нормально?
Is everything alright?
У тебя такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
You had the exact same expression when the policeman asked you about the window.
Все нормально, мам.
I'm alright, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh.
Хорошо.
Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa fabric became discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva in my mouth had different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Olya was done with watching her favorite Little Mermaid episode and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar's and Lagos' voices died down. I walked past Olga's bedroom and slipped into my own.